So yes, welcome to Become the Practitioner You Want to Be. Now, systematic kinesiology is all about M.C.P.E. So I have written this webinar from my experience, and I've written it in an M.C.P.E. type style because systematic kinesiology is all about encompassing the whole person, emotionally, physically, chemically, and energetically. So, and it's a wonderful way to go about helping people and also ourselves, because it all starts with ourselves. As we say right at the beginning of the practitioner course, it all starts with us. So let's work through some hopefully helpful tips for you in an M.C.P.E. way. So in the M section, we're going to go through that first. In the M section, we're going to look at our own mindset as a practitioner ourselves. It's a really good idea to think about what type of practitioner that you want to be. I mean, we do talk about this in TACT, although we talk about a lot, so things can get forgotten. A lot of students over the years have decided to look at what they really enjoy, what they really feel confident with, and run with that first. Now, that can change at any point. So just say you're really confident with digestion and gut health. You could open your clinic as systematic kinesiologist, specializing in gut health, for instance. One of my tutors specialized in the menopause. Now she does lots of different treatments, and treats men and does all kinds of things. She felt very confident with hormones and with the menopause, and a lot of friends and colleagues around the same age, she felt comfortable with that. So she led towards that. And the beauty about this is that we can start thinking about what practitioner we want to be, and that doesn't have to be set in stone. When you first start, you might want to just kind of say, do you know what, I'm specializing in gut health, specializing in hormones, I'm specializing in back and neck pain, whatever you feel confident in. Because thinking about your practice and what you enjoy and what you feel confident with is going to be a game changer. Now, initially, you might do that. And then as you go on, say, do you know, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to specialize in this. I want to move forward and be general. Or now this is really interesting me. And you can evolve as a practitioner. For 25 years, I had a normal generalized systematic kinesiology practice. And then for the last 10 years, I've had a specialized practice of only treating clients mainly with chronic conditions and even disease, which I absolutely love. So really serious conditions, because that's what I chose to kind of for myself, because I wanted that change. So it's understanding that your mindset as a practitioner doesn't have to be set. It can change, and you can evolve and specialize in certain areas or not. And as you go through, that may change too. So in the mental realm, we really need to think about boundaries, because when we first start as practitioners, and I'm speaking from myself as well many years ago, I don't feel that I had a huge amount of boundaries at the time. You know, you see someone at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning when you don't want to, or you see someone at 7 o'clock at night on a Friday night when you don't particularly want to, because there's almost like you so want to be available for that person. You can, stretch your own boundaries, or maybe not even look at them. So having your boundaries about your workplace is a very centered, healthy start to kinesiology, or any practice for that matter. So boundaries around your time, your days, the weeks you work, when you work and when you don't work. The amount of holiday you take is going to be up to you because you're self-employed. And often self-employed people don't take enough holiday in general, because not only are you having the time off, but you're also not having any income. So that can be a real like red flag to not book any time off, which we'll talk about later when we're talking about the physicality of being a practitioner and possible burnout, but we'll talk about that later. But certainly emotional boundaries, timing boundaries, and also in your extra time. Over the years, many students have got involved in an email relationship with their clients. So they see a client and then they email them all they need to, all of their suggestions. And then the client emails back, and within just say a month, there's back and forth emails. And some clients are more needy, and other clients can kind of overstep boundaries. They might be in touch with you all the time, and then your admin and all your emails become can become a problem. So what I suggest is when you have seen your client, write out your instructions on a suggestion, because at the end of the day, they have come for your help and to be guided by you, although it's always kind of recommendations and suggestions. I've got a form here that I write everything on. Clients' recommendations, suggestions, avoid, and homework. So, and I will handwrite that out and give it to them there and then. And I do say, if you've got any, burning questions or anything that you want to swing by me in the meantime, please do call. I'd much rather a call the office, call me, and then you can get an immediate call. And also a call is a relationship. It's much more connective, because with emailing and texting, I'm sure you've all experienced this, there can be, what you meant to say and how it sounded over text and email doesn't match your feeling. So a call is lovely to, so if my clients email me, I usually call them to connect with them, to help them feel heard, to help them feel understood, and then we can clear it up there and then, so we've not got the back and ball of emails, if that makes sense. Also your boundaries with yourself. So when we walk into the room, we leave ourselves out of the room, and you can get really good at that and be 1000% with your client when you're in the room. If our mind starts wandering off, then and we're not in the room with our client, then our boundaries are blurring, because we're thinking about personal stuff or anything like that while we're in the room with them. So when I go into the room, I leave myself outside, and I've almost got I imagine like blinkers on, what you see on a horse for my life, and it's blinkered out, that all that matters and all I'm thinking about is that person in the room. And with that intention, with that thought, and if anything comes into your mind, just chuck it straight out. My commitment is to my client now, 1000%. They will feel that. They'll feel that if you're not with them in the room, and they'll feel it if you are, when you are. Because when you are with them 100%, 1000%, they feel it, they know it, and that goes a long way as well for their overall feeling and the energy and the kind of, you know, validation as well that they would feel would come from that too. So also under mindset, so we've got boundaries, emailing, calling instead, days you work, times you work, giving all of you in the treatment room. However, then not feeling over responsible for your client. Everyone is only responsible for themselves. Do we have a sense of responsibility? Of course we do. We're seeing a client, our intention is to do the absolute best for them. Systematic kinesiology is amazing. We're finding imbalances, we're correcting imbalances, we're suggesting lifestyle changes, and we're suggesting some supplements, and we're also suggesting to maybe put better food in and the not so good food out. So, and giving them maybe some bachelor remedies that have come up in the treatment, giving them some ESR homework or some thyroid holding homework, you know, all those kind of things. However, you know, when a client comes back a month later, just say they come back a month later, you've seen them for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and they come back a month later, and maybe they kind of say, oh, well, this happened since the treatment, and that happened since the treatment, and this happened, you know, and they're kind of almost suggesting that it may have been from the treatment or because of the treatment. You know, occasionally that does happen, or maybe that they don't necessarily feel the benefit of the treatment. There's lots of different reasons for that. We can, if we're not mindful, go into a sense of, oh my goodness, you know, go into a sense of over responsibility and start questioning what you did in the last treatment, for instance. What we need to remember is for that 1 or between 1 and 2 hours there with us, there's the 720 hours in the month where they're living their life. So if you see someone once a month, it's a couple of hours out of 720 hours that they are eating, drinking, being stressed, being triggered, you know, which is everything that systematic kinesiology can help with. So instead of going into feeling over responsible for our clients, yes, definitely a sense of responsibility when we're with them, and responsible for giving them the correct suggestions and advice. However, after that, what they do in between the session really does matter. And often, I'll give you, for instance, seen a lovely lady for migraines. Now, in my experience, I've never known a migraine yet that doesn't involve, I'm not saying solely, but involve sugar and the consumption of sugar. Now, she used to have like migraines virtually every single day and painkillers at least 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, serious painkillers. We're down to, I think, 2 headaches a month. And I said, okay, so where are we with sugar and wheat? Because they were the 2 kind of dietary things. There was other things, but these were the 2 dietary things. And she said, no, I'm not. And I'm not eating any of those things. So I said, not one single solitary anything within the whole month. Well, you know, I'll, you know, just half a biscuit because, you know, the diet is so boring. So, and as we know, with migraines, any, like a few grains of sugar, if it's the trigger, can bring on a migraine, you know, and be in the body for 3 weeks. So we're kind of back to square one. So make sure you don't go into over responsibility thinking, what, you know, immediately, oh gosh, you know, we're always looking, have we missed anything? You know, what are they doing? However, we need to know what's gone on in their lives from the last month. because most of the time they're not with us. So just watch out for over responsibility. And if you do tend to go into over responsibility, I suggest you take red chestnut. Red chestnut is a really good remedy for quelling those feelings of over responsibility and helping that balance out. Okay, so when we're a practitioner, walking the talk for clarity of mind. Now, we all have got a private life. We all like to, I don't know, go out to dinner, maybe have a glass of wine, maybe high days and holidays, eat stuff that we wouldn't normally. However, for clarity of mind and for your own boundaries as a practitioner, it's very helpful to, walk the talk. So you're doing the talking about, this kind of lifestyle. And if we're not doing it, again, on an energetical level and an emotional level, it's not good for you or the client. Also, for instance, the night before, I don't really drink much. However, high days and holidays and celebrations, I'm not teetotal. However, I would not arrange anything the night before either treating or teaching. So my private life is changed by that. And to a certain degree, it might need to be, because I know I'm a complete lightweight. If I have a couple of glasses of wine, and even if it's organic, and even if I drink water and all that kind of thing, I don't feel quite the same in the morning. I just don't. So, we want real clarity of mind when we're treating. We're going to make our job much more difficult for ourselves and maybe not be the practitioner we want to be if we are, indulging just before we treat. Does that make sense? These are all just suggestions. They're not, by any means. I'm just thinking for clarity of mind, it can be a really good idea to, look after yourself all the time, but particularly before seeing your clients. Now, thinking outside the box as well is very helpful as a practitioner. So just say you are a little bit stumped. You've gone down a route, you've tested a lot of different things, and you're thinking, well, what else can I do? And sometimes we can overthink everything. So what I tend to do, and I don't know, I hope you find this helpful. When I'm thinking outside the box, I will ask myself questions. So, for instance, someone's got a big immune problem, and we've got somewhere, but we're not getting where we want to. So my question would be, when is immune not immune? And the answer is when it's digestion, because that's the other half of immune. So immediately you get we know that digestion and immune are linked. However, sometimes with the Riddler's HCl points and the enzyme points, sometimes, they're not digesting, and you're looking for digestive aid and you're just not finding anything. And occasionally it's an immune supplement. So when is digestion not digestion? When it's immune. So it's the other way around. So you can ask yourselves questions, because I saw someone recently, a little boy, and immune formula was his digestive aid. So that's the body saying, if you give me immune formula, I can digest. I can digest with that. So we can think outside the box by questioning our own knowledge. So another one, I've just written down a few. When is skin not skin? Because you're doing loads of when skin not skin. When it's structural, because skin is part of the structural system. So you're looking at skin, maybe doing beginnings and ends and looking all that kind of thing, and you're getting somewhere but not everywhere. Then it could be the structural system, maybe structural nutrition, structural system. structural techniques for the skin. So we can start really getting out the box. Did I write down one more? Yeah, if someone's like really adrenally fatigued, I just put when is adrenal, not adrenal, when it's fear or nervous system. So you just start asking, the whole point that I wanting to make here is asking yourself questions about what you're doing, rather than thinking, oh, you know, what more can I do? What more can I test? Within this genre, sometimes we need to look outside the genre, outside the problem, to get into the problem. MTT, you know, the meridian therapy tapping and just thymus tapping on yourself. Fabulous help to be the practitioner you want to be. So anything that you feel that you would like to be better at, more confident with, manifest, then MTT with yourself is incredible. And also the thymus tapping with the I am statements. The I am statements are fabulous. So I would suggest regular meridian therapy tapping with yourself, the whole round, with even though, whatever you want to say, and then all the negatives that with all the other points. Within the M realm as well, we do talk about active listening, but I am going to reiterate how important active listening is for your practice. So you're asking your client how they feel and what their priorities are, and then you give that back to them. So in a way that, so someone today said that they felt that they were very concerned over their mother-in-law, and then they said they were concerned over their daughter, and then they said they were very anxious with lots of thoughts going around their head. So in the initial chat, so then we can add, you know, when you say you're concerned about your mother-in-law, your daughter, and you know, all these thoughts going around your head, out of those, what's at the top of the pile? And then we can deliver that. Then again, when you say you're worried about your daughter, in what way? When you say you're overwhelmed, in what way are you overwhelmed? Is it paperwork? Is it admin? Is it physically? Is it support? In what way are you overwhelmed? So listening to your client when they talk to you, every single word they say, we want to, you know, the trigger words that they're saying, we want to write down and remember, and then give back to them at some point. And timing is everything, because what we want to do is we want to give that back to them when we are treating them, not when we're testing the supplements, not when we're testing for emotion. We just say, okay, think of this, think of that. What we really want to deliver that back is when we've got it all locked in, the subject matter locked in, then we can really start delivering back our active listening while we are giving the treatment. If we ask them too much when we're testing, what we really want is a clear mind when we're testing. So if we give our active listening back to them to address when we're testing, that can change the testing, other than if we're saying, okay, when you said you were overwhelmed, what's at the top of the list there? Okay, oh, it's paperwork. Right, okay, paperwork. Can you think of the paperwork? Duh, lock in, duh, gone. Right, next one. Daughter. In what way are you so concerned about your daughter? Oh, it's the people at school. Right, okay, let's get that in. Then the real giving back is while you're doing the bulk of the treatment. So you're rubbing the points, running the meridians, you're doing all the input. And then you can say, okay, so we've got this locked in, and then you're going to give it back to them. that is, I sometimes think, because this has helped me create this today, because I've been doing a lot of clinic practices. And, there's so much on the practitioner course. I understand that. And there's so much with any therapy. It's hard to remember everything. And when you're nervous and when, all this kind of, you want to get the kinesiology right. I would say active listening and delivering it back at the right time to the client about themselves, to talk about themselves, is incredible emotional work. Absolutely incredible. It doesn't have to be ESR program, MTT, and we don't particularly want that on the first visit anyway. It's can be too deep, and they need to kind of feel your energy and need to build up trust. So active listening and delivering it back is fantastic emotional work, always, 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 always. Also in the mindset mental realm, to expand your knowledge and research. I love doing this because like I said, I get a lot of complicated cases, which is what I've chosen, and they do come. I've definitely delivered them. And what I tend to do is expand your knowledge and research. So expanding your knowledge and research is incredibly helpful. So what do I mean by that? Even little things, because when you're new to practice, well, certainly I'll speak for myself, I didn't know what a lot of conditions were. So, when your client comes, you don't have to know. So you don't need to do all the research and have to know that now. I'm talking about when your client comes in and says, I've got costochondritis, you say, oh, would you spell that for me, please? And if they say, oh, have you heard of that? I'm just honest and say, no, I haven't. Can you, however, I'd like to you to list your symptoms, because we're not working with labels. We don't need to know what it is. We're just working with the symptoms, the person with the symptoms. We're not treating the costochondritis. We're treating the person with it. Does that make sense? And we're not allowed to say we treat any illness. Like, I'm treating a guy with Parkinson's. I'm not treating his Parkinson's. I'm treating a guy with Parkinson's, and his Parkinson's symptoms are changing, have changed. So we need to be very careful. So when people say to you, oh, do you treat multiple sclerosis? What can kinesiology do for multiple sclerosis? Well, if you have MS, kinesiology will be able to test and see the nerve pathways that we can test and find to, and find things to help you. So don't be kind of bamboozled into, oh yeah, I treat this and I treat that. We're treating the person with whatever they've got rather than what they've got. So if someone comes out with a great long name that you've never heard, you ask them to spell it out, and then when they've gone, you can ask them the symptoms. But this is what I do. I then look it up, and what is it, and what do the medics think about it, and what's offered on the NH? What's the bog standard offering on it? And then I will look up the emotional meaning in Louise Hay, and I will look up, supplements that can possibly help areas that are connected to that particular problem. And I love expanding my knowledge and researching because we don't, oh gosh, Kerry's in the waiting room. Welcome, Kerry. Hold on. Oh. Let me just see if she's still there. Hi, Kerry. Sorry, I didn't see you in the waiting room there. So yeah, and it will build your confidence as well, because then you can say, oh, and sometimes I'll say, yeah, I have heard of that. Can you just remind me what the symptoms are? So I'm just honest. I'll say, I haven't heard of it. I have heard of it. Please remind me of the symptoms. Or, yeah, I have heard of it. What are you experiencing? What are your symptoms? saw someone the other day, Gilbert's disease. The medical professions say that Gilbert's disease causes no symptoms. It's so that you're told that you've got Gilbert's disease, where the body isn't processing and breaking down bilirubin, and there's no problem with it, according to what I've read. And you don't even really need to know you've got Gilbert's condition unless you go very jaundiced and really yellow, and that's like really kind of advanced or dramatic form of the condition, and even then it's not dangerous, they say. So I did some research on it, and because I've had a couple of people that, and in fact I've asked a client to have blood tests at the moment because I'm suspecting it, because from the research I've done, there are very much symptoms of fatigue and digestive issues and insomnia, so it's really good to do your own research. So when someone says, oh, I've got Gilbert's, I'm going to really ask them about fatigue. I'm going to ask them about insomnia, digestive issues, stuff like that. It's just interesting. And that you might find that, you might not want to do that. However, you might find that I'm a bit of a nerd like that. I think, oh, what's going on there? And oh, I'd like to know more about that. And what's the emotion involved in that? And even if it's not in Louise Hay, I'll look at everything similar. So I'll look at everything around it and kind of think, oh, it might be that, it might be that. So that can really help as a practitioner. Although I don't want you to think for 1 second that you need to know everything, because you don't, and we can't, and I still don't. And I'm learning every single day from my students, from my clients, and it's wonderful. So just ask what their symptoms are, because that's what we're dealing with, the person with the symptoms. We don't actually need the label. However, doing your research on it and expanding your knowledge will help. Okay, so any questions on mindset? Any questions of anything I've said in the genre of mental mindset? Okay, so chemically. I would advise us to walk the talk. I've worked with kinesiologists and gone to lunch with them, and they have had ham, egg and chips and a can of Coke, big can of Coke, and then and even taken the Coke back to the clinic and crisps and things like that. I'm not saying it's absolutely fine. High days and holidays. Having said that, this particular person doesn't walk the talk. That's how they eat, and I find that incongruent. Only because how can we? It's up to them, whatever they want to do. The only reason I'm saying this is if we are not walking the talk and we're not maybe watching the 4 main offenders, maybe we're not generally got a good diet, how on earth can we, from the heart, really organically and, consciously give people advice that we're not willing to do? Because as a practitioner, I like to be willing to, at the moment I'm on a 7-day liver cleanse, and my friend was laughing today. She said, what on earth are you on a liver cleanse for? I said, because I want to do it. It's new, and I've not done this one before. It's a very gentle one, just literally a very clean diet, which is quite easy for me. Mind you, it's, I do, as everyone knows, I love the odd decaf coffee, and I love some chocolate, and there's none of that this week. And, the odd glass of wine at weekends, not every weekend, but hey ho. So for this 7 days, I'm being super, super clean, and not even any kind of mozzarella and feta and stuff like that. So that's what I like to do, these things. And off the back of this, actually, it's really interesting. I saw a client. I started on Monday, saw a client on Wednesday, And I was telling her about it. She said, you know, she said, you look really, you know, I said, I feel brighter. She said, yeah, I can see that. I can see you feel brighter. And we were talking about, and she felt that, you know, we've been working with her liver. Anyway, I said, oh, you know, I'll go and test what I'm taking. And it actually tested out on her, and she was over the moon. So she's going to do it now. So, you know, watch the 4 main offenders. You know, if that's our diet every single day and we don't watch it, it's difficult, I feel, from the heart and energetically as well, to suggest that to clients. Maybe the blood group. Have you looked at it? Have you not looked at it? You know, have you done it? Have you done it for a month? Even if you don't do it ongoing, have you done it for a month? Because if you're suggesting it to your clients, that's, you know, very helpful. You know, are we seasonally eating, or are we stuffing ourselves with salads all winter? You know, the odd salad at a restaurant here and there. You know, I'm not saying you say no. However, every day, you know, eating salad during the winter, not great. Are you taking your supplements? I know lots of practitioners that don't take supplements, or don't take many, or forget, or, you know. So if you're not taking what comes up for you, then, you know, as we know, it's very difficult to get, well, it's impossible. There was a report in 1955 that it was, you know, to eating a, you know, general healthy diet, you couldn't get everything you needed. And that was, you know, 70 years ago. You know, drinking your water, that kind of thing. So chemically, are you walking to it? Chemically, you can really change the way you feel and work as a practitioner if you're really watching what you're doing in your own life. Because I freely admit, when my mum was ill with cancer, I went right off track. I really did. I went right off track when my mum had cancer. It was like getting through it, and I think that was probably the worst time for my self-care in my entire life. Actually, it was only 9 months, although you know, it was tricky. So I completely have empathy and understand how people get off track. And I will say to clients, they say, oh, I bet you're so good all the time. I said, well, yeah, I am mainly, although sometimes, and particularly when my mum ill, I was really off track. And it's nice to have that humility to say to your clients, you know, we all go off track. You know, January is always the month where I need to stop thinking it's Christmas, you know. The whole of January is Christmas in my mind. It's because, you know, oh, my lovely clients have bought me all these lovely chocolates, and they're all lovely and gorgeous and not too sweet. But, you know, and my Christmas carries on in January, and then I really have to put a stop to it. So we can all get off track. So it's not that we're judging, it's just that we're being aware that we can, and to be kind to ourselves, although where you can, keep on track and get back on track. Okay, so the physical realm. I suggest, and I know a lot of you on here do, have regular paid treatments or swaps. Please, if you don't, please consider it. It's so wonderful to be reminded how fantastic kinesiology is, how fantastic you feel afterwards. I had a lovely treatment on Monday. I had one last month. I've got one booked next month. I'm paying for it. Yeah, it's a commitment I really made to myself this year, because I do that, just not so regularly due to timings and commitments. However, this year's all changed for me. Again, I'm becoming a new practitioner, the best practitioner that I can be, and that is evolving again. Because I'm being really hot on a lot of different things, plus taking a lot more time off. So my work has changed. I've been planning it all of last year. So this diary is completely different. Work 4 or 5 weeks, have a week off. Work 4 or 5 weeks, have a week off. And so I've really looked at my physicality and what I want to do with my energy. And I absolutely want to do kinesiology. I want to teach it. I want to treat. And I also want to go rummaging around on adventures with my dog and my friends and going to spas and, you know, just having days off, pottering around the house, sorting cupboards out, things like that I don't always have time to do. So, yeah, regular paid treatments and swaps, and yeah, think about your scheduled breaks. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be going away. Some of mine does involve going away, but a lot of it doesn't. And be mindful that a day off is never a day off. So if you schedule in a day off, and I think you're all, this will resonate with you. So you've been working and you have one day off. That day off is not a day off. So if you have 2 days off, the first day isn't a day off. The first day is doing everything that you haven't had time to do because you've been working so much. Then the next day, the second day may be a day off, but that second day may be an absolute poop day. I've worked very hard, then I've done everything that I haven't got time to do. Now I'm going to collapse for a day. So if that's your only day off, you don't get to do what you would like to do. So my suggestion would be to have a, where you can with clients, work a 3 or 4 day week and then have 3 days in a row off. That's what I would suggest. Or if that's financially not viable, work 5 days, have 2 days off, work 4 days, have 3 days off. It doesn't have to be set. You know, you could say like every 6 weeks, I'm going to have a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you know. If you don't schedule this in, if you don't think about this for yourself, it's just not going to happen. So scheduling proper time off, not just a day here and there, and regular breaks of hopefully 3 or 4 days, you know, regularly. Otherwise, we can head to practitioner burnout. And, you know, to a certain extent, I did have a year off to write the books, which is completely what I did do. However, I was ready to have a year off after treating for 25 years and seeing about 7 clients a day. So I was ready to have some time off. So watch out, because you kind of, well, I always thought, oh, you know, I'll never get practitioner burnout. And because I was mindful and I never worked 5 days a week in the clinic. So just be mindful of that right from the beginning. You know, physically, what exercise are you doing? Are you doing the exercise you love? Are you doing regular exercise? Because we're talking to our clients about that. When we do regular exercise, we feel good. When we feel good, we're better practitioners. Whatever, it all starts with you on the course and learning, and it all starts with you being a practitioner. So, and you know that everyone's kind of, you know, suggested exercise is very different, because what I love, you might hate, and what you love, I really might not like doing. So we do something that we love. Are we doing a cross crawl? You know, do you do your cross crawl? Do you do your cross crawl before a client to integrate the right and left side of your brain, even if it's just for 30 seconds? But a cross crawl can really get you thinking differently. It integrates the right and the left brain, you know that, and it can be amazing to do before you go into your client. Yeah, now the other thing that we do need to do, because, you know, as practitioners, it's a very physical job, and we expend a lot of energy with our jobs. And when we are working, that's another thing I do, I plan to sleep when I'm working. So tonight I'm doing this. I've had a very long day, actually. Started exams at 10 o'clock this morning. I've had a mixture of exams and clients all day. And then I was answering emails, and then I came on here, which is all okay. I will have something to eat, and then I'm going to have a bath, and I will go up to bed by 9 tonight. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone does that, although when you are looking after yourself, it is important to have some hours before midnight. just some, even if it's not, Hi, love. Apologies, I don't know how long you've been in the waiting room. Hi there. You can catch up on the recording. So hours before midnight, it isn't an old wives' tale. It is definitely something that is very beneficial to health. So my aim is to get 1 or 2 hours before midnight, most nights, but particularly when I'm working. I like to go to, not that I don't go to bed at 9 and go to sleep at 9. I read, sometimes I'm marking case studies, but it's quite relaxing. And then I listen to podcasts and just have that downtime. So getting our sleep is also something that we can plan for when we are working. And, with energy, so the energetical side of where we want to be with a practitioner is where our intention goes, energy flows. So if we are focusing on, oh my goodness, it's so difficult, I can't get clients, blah, 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 then, unfortunately that can come round and bite us in the bum, although I totally understand is not, you don't snap your fingers and have a full clinic. Some get there quicker than others, although actually there was a question, it was a question on the forum. You might want to look at that because Lottie's answer was wonderful, and absolutely true. She juggled lots of different jobs while she was building up to be a practitioner. So where your intention goes, your energy flows. So what are your intentions as a practitioner? What are they? What kind, like I said right at the beginning with the mindset, what kind of practitioner do you want to be? What do you want to work? Lottie, for instance, she's changed in the last 2 years. She treated everyone, now she doesn't. She focuses on women's health and fertility, helping people get pregnant, helping people with their hormones, helping people through menopause. That is what she's doing now. She doesn't see male clients, none booked in with her. That's her choice now. So her intention was to go down that route now, so you can veer off because it really interests her. And why not? Why not do something that really interests you as a practitioner? Don't be a general practitioner if you don't want to be. Focus in on one area that is your passion, and you're just so focused on it and you love it, which is what Lottie's done. I'm really proud of her for doing that. And, plan to succeed and plan to follow through on that intention. So if your intention is to get yourself out there and bring in clients, then we need some action. So we talk about talks on, tact, but also put yourself out there with social media is huge now, fairs, write yourself a year letter. Do you remember the year letter that we wrote in the practitioner course? I write myself one every year. And do you know what? I'm always gobsmacked. Always, I put loads of personal stuff in there too now, because so lots of personal things. Write it to myself in a year's time. I strongly recommend you do that. I know you've just all done one. Well, some of you have just done those intact, but if you haven't done one for a while, write yourself a letter. Where do you want to be as a practitioner a year from now? Maybe do another one, even though you wrote one intact recently or not so recently. What do you want? Where do you want to be with systematic kinesiology in a year's time? Hopefully you all use batch flowers on yourself. Batch flowers in your daily life. There's not many days that go by without me taking a batch flower. I might just think, I've had a hard day. I took some olive and oak, because I'm a bit frazzled and pushing past, pushing myself on long days. So oak can be really helpful for that. So, use your batch flower remedies as practitioner. If you're a little bit nervous, take some, if you're what-ifing about the session, maybe take some Aspen, use the remedies for yourself regularly. Please do that because they're amazing. You can also protect yourself with the walnut and crystals. Certain stones can be helpful. I like intention, really. My intention's always been that I am going to, although I'm giving, I'm receiving. And if I'm balancing another human being, I believe that I'm being balanced. And throughout my career, I've had that mindset, and that energy has followed through. It really has followed through. So, yeah, and make sure, you are protecting your energy, because when you're a practitioner, you generally have some admin. So you can, make sure you've got some Wi-Fi dots, energy dots, crystals, salt lamps, stuff like that, just to divert the energy away from you. I've got a box here. I use the Light Images environmental device. I've got one in the clinic and I've also got one in my home. And I can put the number of that on the community. This is, I see it like a sort of Ghostbuster box. It just brings in all the negative energies into there and disperses them. And I've muscle tested it. It tested really good around all my equipment. So keep that, bear that in mind, protecting yourself energetically. There's so much going on in the world at the moment, isn't there? The 5G, there's certain smart towns that are all switched on and up and running. However, I think it's coming everywhere, smart cities, smart towns. I think Bristol might be one. Someone was telling Ipswich's, someone was telling me that's already a smart city. So there's going to be masks everywhere frazzling us. So let's protect ourselves. And one of the best ways to deal with radiation and frequencies particularly for the thyroid, is iodine. And the way that I take it, which is very, transdermally, is very safe. You've got to be careful with iodine. You've got to know what you're doing. If you're going to take it orally, I tend not, I don't. I put it on my skin and see where I am. My skin will tell me, if it absorbs it quickly, then I need a little bit more and I need some help. And if it doesn't absorb quickly, then I'm good. So you might want to think about all that. Now, also energetically, if your practice is a winning game, keep your eye on it, make some tweaks, although I would suggest not to change anything drastic if it's a winning game. If your practice seems to be a losing game, then I would suggest not continuing doing what you're doing. I would suggest changing your mindset, your formula, your focus, your intentions, where you want to be, and give it a shake up, because we don't want to change a winning game. And sometimes when it's going really well, you might think, oh, it's going really well, so I'm going to add this and I'm going to change that. Blah, 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 blah. And I have seen that not result into benefits at the end of the day. So we don't want to change a winning game. However, we do want to change a losing game. So if you're not getting anywhere or where you want to be, or not as quickly as you might, then I would suggest changing your focus and maybe your route, and looking at some of the things we've discussed tonight, and definitely making changes if it's not working for you as is. There's nothing wrong with deciding that you only want to treat a certain genre of people. And there's nothing wrong with if you just want to encompass everything. Some people find that overwhelming. So whatever's right for you, and if you then feel that it's not right for you or it's not working, as you hoped it would, thought it would, then maybe veer off in another direction, if that makes sense. So they were my tips on to help you become the practitioner that you would like to be. And I hope that even if you've just picked up a few tips and nuggets from what we've talked about tonight, I hope that's really helped. If you've got any questions, then please do get in touch. And or you can ask me now if you've got any burning questions now, or you can get in touch with the community, because as you know, I'm on there a lot answering your questions. So anyone got any comments or questions? Yes, Sarah? Yeah.
Just, you were saying about experience you can specialise. Do you often recommend whether it's worth doing a general clinic rather than specialising when you first qualify, or do you think it's okay to go straight into specialism?
I think either is. If generalised, treating anyone that comes along with anything isn't daunting to you, and you absolutely want to go for it and just experience it all, then please do. If you find it overwhelming, if you find it a bit scary, if you find that it's like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't know where to start with a certain something, then maybe you might want to veer down the route of treating certain genres. Is that helpful?
Yeah, really helpful. Thank you.
Lovely. Lucy?
Yeah, a couple of questions actually. Tacking on to that one really, do you have some advice for people how they can turn down a client that perhaps doesn't, if they do decide to specialise and then they get a call from somebody that is a little bit off your specialism? How would you?
Okay. Yeah. I would suggest that someone calls up and says, I've got these symptoms, blah, 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 and you say, right, lovely, okay, that's something that systematic kinesiology could really help you with. However, I'm not the practitioner for you at this time. However, I can give you taskukonetwork.org and you can find someone closer to you that would be the right practitioner for you. And if they said, oh, well, why won't you see me? Why aren't you the practitioner for me? You could say, well, I specialize in fertility and women's health, and they're a man, or they're, an older lady, or it's a child, So then they go, okay, oh, thank you. Well, do you know anyone who's good with children, or da, 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 da? Or if you don't, you can just give them taskukonetwork.org, and then they can find someone closer to them. So the answer to your question is, with everything you've told me, I'm personally not the practitioner for you at the moment. However, because I see this genre. However, I do know there will be someone to help you, and I'll help you find them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what about current clients?
Right. So a current client that you're seeing that you would rather not see anymore.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So something like, I've been seeing you for however long, and I really don't feel that I've got you where I would like you to be. I don't feel that, I don't feel I've got you to where I'd like you to be. And, I really feel I would love you to have someone else's input. So, I suggest you see this person, or call up several people around your areas and just tell them where you're at and see who you resonate with. So yeah, I have done that.
Okay, yeah. Can I just ask one other quick question? You mentioned earlier about structural techniques for the skin.
Yeah.
Could you remind me of what they might be? Some ideas.
Right, some ideas for this. So it could be temporomandibular joint is a structural hotspot, neck and sacrum. So they're jaw, neck, sacrum and ankles are real structural hotspots. I'm not saying that it could be other things. However, that would be my first go-to with those areas. So
and they can help with skin, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
The skin comes under structure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that would be my first go-to. But if you didn't get anywhere with those kind of hot spots, then I would suggest you look up the structural techniques from your practitioner course, and then you can start testing dual torque and other structural techniques, shock absorbers, things like that. It could be it could be any kind of structural technique, or nutrition. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? You might want to comment. Yes.
I just wondered where you get your liver cleanse from.
Oh, this one was from one of my friends is a Arbonne consultant, and she told me about this liver cleanse, so I just did one.
Okay.
I said, "Oh, can I have one, please?" And I really like supporting other people's businesses. It's one that I love helping to lift people up when they're starting out. And she's starting out. Actually, she's been going a couple of years now. And every so often, I don't buy much. I'm not a consultant, but every so often she does something on her social media, and she said, "I'm doing a liver cleanse. Anyone want to join me?" And I just messaged, "What's in it?" And she wrote back, and I said, "Oh, I'll buy one." So yeah, so that's where it's from.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Really helpful though, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, that was
I'm glad it was. If you all picked up something, even a couple of nuggets, like I said, even if you picked up something here and there from each realm, I really find it helpful myself. And that's kind of how I go about things. And a lot of people ask me how I go about things. So I thought, right, well, I'll share it. And hopefully it will help you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So have a great evening, and get in touch on the community if you need to know any more.
Wonderful.
So have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Claire.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.